Okay, today we are going to learn how to properly focus a slide on a microscope. Before that, we need to go over the parts of the microscope. This is the eyepiece. These are the objective lens. First comes the scanner, which is power 4, which is marked red. Then comes power 10, marked yellow. Then comes power 40, marked blue. Then comes power 100, marked white. This is the stage. These are the stage clips. This is the stage adjuster. These are the coarse adjuster, fine adjuster. This is the condenser. This is the condenser adjuster. There is a light switch and another switch to control the intensity of the light. Now we are going to learn how to properly focus a microscope. First thing, you put the objective lens on the power 4, which is marked red. You use the coarse adjuster to bring the stage up to its highest position. Use the condenser adjuster to lower the condenser to its lowest position. Put the slide onto the stage by feeling for the cover slip. The cover slip should be up, the side up. You put it onto the stage, switch on the power, adjust the intensity. Then use the coarse adjuster, bring the stage down slowly and bring the object into focus. Then use the fine adjuster to fine tune your focus. After you have done that, you use the power 10 objective lens, which is marked yellow. Then put the condenser to its mid position. Use only the fine focus to fine tune your focus. Then you put the objective lens to its power 40, which is marked blue, and again use the condenser adjuster to put the condenser to its highest position. And then again, only using the fine adjuster, you again fine tune your focus. And after you have done that, you are done. You switch off the lights, and that is it.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for everybody who supports me. Thank you for your comments. Lots of people are writing to me that my lectures are helping them with their studies. So, thumbs up to you. Thank you so much. Now, we will start talking about leukemias and lymphomas, your most requested topics ever. So, I'm very interested in starting. But first, I would like to tell you, these videos take a lot of time preparing, so if you'd like to support these videos, go to my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/medicosis, and support me. Just $1 a month is all what I'm asking, and for this you will get access to other notes on Patreon that are not available on YouTube, and you will get early access to all of my future videos before everybody else, so that's cool. Again, thank you so much in advance. Now, let's start talking about leukemias and lymphomas. But first, we need to talk about the complete blood count. As you know, hematology is a lab field. If you don't know how to read labs, don't go into hematology, for heaven's sake. You will hate yourself. But the good news is, you can learn to read labs. They are so easy. One of the most routinely requested lab tests is the complete blood count. And if you live in the United States of America or Canada, whenever you go to the doctor, they order a complete blood count, even before saying good morning to you. Okay? In the future, maybe you will have CBC and colonoscopy as a routine, so you get a scope every time you go in. That's how common colon cancer is becoming, or colon disease in general, because we eat a lot of meat. Anyways, let's get started. So, complete blood count looks at all of your blood cells. Here you have your red blood cell, platelets. These are not cells, okay? Platelets are fragments of the cytoplasm of the glorious parent called megakaryocytes. Here are your white blood cells. Here we have the neutrophil with the segmented nucleus. Here we have the eosinophil, looks like headphones. Here you have basophil with its basophilic granules. Here you have the monocyte, which looks like a magnet, horseshoe magnet. So horseshoe magnet, monocyte. And here is your apple pie. The nucleus is very widespread. There is a little rim of cytoplasm left. And this is your lymphocyte. So again, neutrophil is neutral. Basophil has basophilic granules. Eosinophil has eosinophilic granules. And then you have monocytes and lymphocytes. Those do not have granules. We call these granulocytes and these agranulocytes or non-granulocytes. Are the components of the complete blood count. Here is a nice fish bone drawing, okay, for you to remember it. There is another fish bone for the basic metabolic panel, BMP, but this is a completely different topic. So, we are looking at red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. Red blood cells by looking at hemoglobin and hematocrit, white blood cells here and platelets here. Okay, this is just a summary. The real deal is like this. For the red blood cell, we need hemoglobin, hematocrit, RBC count, like the total red blood cell count. Then we have RBC indices. Again, we have talked about this in a previous video, such as mean corpuscular volume, mean corpuscular hemoglobin, mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. Also, don't forget your red cell distribution width. Then let's look at platelets, and then let's look at white blood cell. We have the total white blood cell count. Then we have neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. That's fine. Okay, now it's not routine. The doctor may order it or may not. Peripheral blood smear to look at the morphology of your red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, etc. So, since we have finished talking about anemia, let's make a quick review. Here is the Maltese cross of Babesia microti. This is babesiosis. Here is your immature, large, nucleated red blood cell. Here is your spherocyte, could be due to hemolysis or hereditary spherocytosis. Here is your ringed sideroblast in sideroblastic anemia or lead poisoning. Here is the basophilic stippling of the red blood cell in lead poisoning. Here is an elliptocyte in hereditary elliptocytosis. Here is your stomatocytes, can be sign of dehydration or hereditary stomatocytosis. Here is your acanthocytes in liver disease. Here is your echinocytes in kidney disease. Here is your target cells. We see it in cases of hemoglobinopathies. Here is your schistocytes, helmet cell or fragmented cell. We see it in DIC, TTP, HUS, HELP syndrome, as well as valve abnormalities, such as calcified aortic valve or metallic valve replacement. Or this one, the last one, is the teardrop cells. Why is the red blood cell crying? Because your bone marrow is fibrosed, or because your spleen is now useless, okay, called asplenia, such as cases of sickle cell disease. That's it. So it was a very quick review. Again, I've talked about all of these separately in their own videos. Check my hematology playlist. Okay, this is just an introduction to know what a CBC is. In the next video, we will discuss your great white blood cells. Indeed, they are very important for your immune system. I'll see you in the next video. Stay happy, study hard.
This video demonstrates how to use the microscopes in the Biology 10 laboratory. It consists of 4 parts: setting up the microscope, using the microscope, troubleshooting hints, and cleanup. Retrieve a microscope from the cabinet. Carry the microscope with both hands, one holding the arm and the other under the base of the instrument. If the microscope is too heavy for you to carry safely, ask for assistance. Unwind the cord from the back of the microscope and plug it in. The on-off switch is on the back of the scope and may be hard to find if the power cord is still wrapped around the holders. Check the ocular lenses and turn them until the number 64 lines up with the white line below the rotating part of the lens. Check that the condenser lens is just below the stage. Put the objective lens on low power and move the stage to its highest position. Adjust the light to the medium or medium-high range. You can adjust the light later to improve the image. The brightest light doesn't necessarily result in the best image. Now you should be ready to start using the microscope. Open the clip on the stage with one hand and slide a microscope slide to the back of the stage. Be sure the slide doesn't go under the clips that hold it in place. Use the knobs on the lower right side of the stage to center the specimen over the condenser lens. Start with the low-power objective lens, 4x, and the stage in its highest position. Then look through the ocular lens and focus on the specimen, which should already be nearly in focus. Once you have found the specimen on low power, be sure it is centered in the field of view. Then move to the next highest objective lens, 10x, and refocus. Your specimen should be nearly in focus, and you should only need to use the smaller, fine focus knob. Again, center the specimen, and you are ready to move to the highest power lens, 40x. If your slide doesn't move when you turn the knobs to adjust the slide holder, make sure you are using the right knobs and that the slide is clipped in place properly. If you are having trouble finding the specimen, make sure your specimen is centered. Start over at the lowest power and move the stage back to its highest position. If you get frustrated trying to focus, you can easily get so far out of focus that it's easier to start over. You should only need to do minor adjustments at each magnification. When focusing, move the slide just a little bit back and forth with the slide holder knobs. Your eyes can see motion better than stationary objects. If you are observing unstained specimens, use the stage diaphragm to reduce the amount of light passing through. Also, if you're observing unstained specimens, try to find a bubble or other easily observed object under the cover slip and focus on that. If when you move to a higher power lens the specimen becomes blurry as though it were coated with Vaseline and you cannot focus, you may need to clean the lens. Soak a piece of lens paper, and only lens paper, with lens cleaner and wipe the lens. Then wipe dry with clean lens paper. Repeat a couple times. If this doesn't solve the problem, check with your instructor. When you have finished using the microscope, remove the slide and rotate the lowest power lens in place. Move the stage to a centered position and the slide holder to the left. Check that the stage is clean and dry. Turn off the light and power and wrap the cord. Carry the microscope with both hands back to the cabinet. Be sure that the arm is facing out and that the microscopes are not crowded together.
When you pick up a microscope, use two hands, one around the arm and one under the base, and then carry it to your table and gently set it down. Now I'm going to remove the dust cover and kind of put it over here out of the way, and then I'll plug in the microscope. First of all, I want to point out some of the lenses that we find on the microscope. On the eyepiece, we have the ocular lens that has a magnification of 10x. Then above the stage here, we have this revolving turret that's called the revolving nose piece. And as you can turn this, and you can select different lenses. These lenses are known as objective lenses. And the first lens here is called the scanning lens, and it has a magnification of 4x. Turn it to the next one. That's the low power lens, and it has a magnification of 10x. And turn it to the third lens here. That is the high power lens that has a magnification of 40x. Total magnification is ocular times the objective. So if I have it selected to the scanning lens, 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, if I turn it to the low power lens, that's 10 times 10, which is 100. And if I turn it to the high power lens, that is 10 times 40, which is 400. Now, I also want to point out a lens that is under the stage too. And this is a lens that's called the condenser lens, which focuses the light to a point, where your object is on the stage. These are the two focusing knobs. This large knob right over here is the coarse focus adjustment. And when I turn this, it moves the stage a lot. Now, right in front of it is a smaller knob. That's the fine focus adjustment. I turn that, it moves the stage a little. Now, this is very important, for focusing. These are parfocal microscopes. What that means is that when you first start out with putting the slide on the stage, that when you have it on scanning, use the coarse focus only. Then, when you move it to subsequent lenses, the low power and the high power lens, only use the fine focus. Now, how about putting a slide on the microscope? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm on the scanning lens. That's the red one over here. And I'm going to get a slide, and I'm going to pull back the stage clip and gently slide that slide into place. And I can manipulate my slide by these knobs here. This knob will move it, right and left. This one over here will move it up and down. And the other thing I want to make sure, and make sure you do have this on the scanning lens, I want to use a coarse focus and make sure that the stage is all the way up position. Now, these are parafocal microscopes. What that means is that if you start out with a scanning lens, focus with the coarse focus. But then, when you move to the subsequent lenses, the low power and the high power, only use the fine focus. Okay? So let me show you how to do that. Now, remember that I have my station all the way up position, and I have it on the scanning. So what focus knob am I going to use? Well, the coarse focus. So I'm going to look in here, and I'm going to turn this until my image comes into focus. And now I see it in perfect focus right now. Now, I move it to the next lens, which is the low power lens, but remember these are parafocal microscopes, so now I use the fine focus adjustment. So I'll turn the fine focus, looking in here, until it comes into perfect focus. Okay, I got it in focus. And if I go to the high power lens, I'm going to turn the revolving nose piece and put the lens into place. And again, I'm going to use the fine focus. And now my image comes into view. And that's basically how you, use these microscopes.
Sometimes the illuminator appears not to work. One of the first things you check is if the microscope is actually plugged in, and that has happened to me before. Then also, after it's plugged in, make sure that you have it turned on. And there's an on and off switch someplace on your microscope, even if it's not in this particular location. The light intensity dial is on the side, and sometimes it's too low, maybe set on 1, and no light will show through. So then you need to change that intensity level by turning the knob and making sure that that's not your problem too. All right, a lot of times a student will think that the microscope is not working, and I'm going to answer some questions that are frequently asked. One of them is, the light is on here and my illuminator, but I don't have any light coming through to my eye, so I can't see anything in the microscope. One thing that might be wrong is that the iris diaphragm is closed all the way. And you can see that there's no light coming through when the iris diaphragm is closed. So that's one thing that could be wrong. One other thing is if the nose piece is not clicked into place with the objective, then again, no light will come through if it's in between two objectives. So you have to make sure that you hear that click when you turn the revolving nose piece. Another thing that sometimes is an issue is if the view is blurry. Sometimes, of course, you haven't gotten it into focus. But then another thing that could be wrong is that your slide is dirty. If your microscope slide is dirty, that's also going to cause some blurriness when you're trying to see it. So what I suggest is that you take some optic lens wipes and gently rub the slide. Be careful not to rub too hard over the specimen, but just around the edges, and that will take care of should take care of any of the smudginess that's on your slide that would cause you to have a blurry vision. When you're using the blank slides for some reason, then sometimes they come out of the box and they're blurry too. So you can again use these wipes to rub the slide. And be careful while I'm doing this, or while you're doing this, because while I'm doing this, it is very sharp. The slide's very sharp. So you want to make sure that you avoid touching the sharp edges in a way that would be harmful to you. And then the slide is ready to go to make a wet mount. When you've done everything you can to make your microscope work, if you still have trouble, put a red tag on it and we'll take a look at it for you. Take one of the red tags that will be located in your lab, write on the blank side what specifically seems to be wrong with your microscope. Use a twist tie to attach the tag. And then affix the red tag to the ocular tube on your microscope. Make sure it's going to stay on, but you don't have to do it tightly. And then once you put on the dust cover, I will still be able to see that there's a red tag and I need to take a look at something. Reminders for returning your microscope to the cabinet. Turn the lamp off, allow it to cool, unplug your microscope, remove the slide from the stage, turn the scanning power back to the original location, move the stage to the highermost position, make sure that your stage is centered, neatly store the electrical cord when you're finished with that, pull the dust cover over, and then carry it with 2 hands back to the cabinet, making sure that you don't bump it into the other microscopes that are already in the cabinet.